The comparison quite a few people have been waiting for is the Google Pixel 7 Pro versus the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra. There's a lot to talk about here. And for a while, I wondered whether I would even compare the two, because Google's not really trying to compare the two. These are naturally compared because of the top tier Androids of the day, at least here in the United States. You walk into the store, this really is your competition when you're talking about high-end Android devices. But Google's done a good job in the last couple of years of creating their own identity with the Pixel that I think has given up the ghost of trying to compete directly with the S22 Ultra. There was a while where the Pixel was doing that, where the Pixel 2 XL, the Pixel 3 XL, the Pixel 4 XL, they were charging the same money. They were going after that flagship tier right directly against the Samsung Galaxy S class of the day. But I always felt that for the same money, that was always the dart that people would throw at it, that it came up a little short in a few areas. So I like the fact that they've stepped away from that a little bit, concentrated more on building their own ecosystem here with the Tensor 2, with the different Pixel experience things that they add to their version of Android, and giving you a little bit of value-added stuff there at $8.99 that certainly does make a difference and evens out this matchup a little bit, because all things being equal, if you're looking at the same price for these, which at this point in the year you basically are, $8.99 for both, I'm going to pick the S22 Ultra. I understand there's some subjective parts there. I'm going to explain why I like the S22 Ultra over the Pixel 7 Pro. But the fact that they're even having a conversation this year means that Google's done a significantly better job than they have in the past of offering enough benefits there to maybe get close for a lot of people. And that's what they really are aiming to do. They want to pick out the categories that they think are most important to their users, get as competitive as possible. And there are categories where the Pixel 7 Pro does defeat the S22 Ultra. And they want to see if they can kind of hone in on those things that are important for their users and entice them away. And then, of course, you add in that $300 discount, because technically this is a $1,200 phone, even though you're getting reduced price now, and this is $899. So that's a $300 difference there. So there's a lot that needs to be considered. Okay, the first category that stands out to me, and one of the main reasons why I prefer the S22 Ultra versus the Pixel 7 Pro, is the display. And it's going to be tough to show up on camera, but there is an immediate difference in the displays. And I've tried with settings to get them as close as possible. Okay, so the Samsung display is on the vivid setting, which is where I like to have it. And the Google Pixel 7 Pro display is on the adaptive setting, I think it is. And that's not with refresh rate. There actually is a color setting in there that's adaptive, where it makes it a little bit more vibrant than the normal natural colors. But you could immediately see a difference there in these panels. The Google Pixel panel is by no means bad. I really hope this shows up on camera, but the Samsung S22 Ultra panel is vibrant, the contrast is excellent, and it just pops that little bit more. And if you're somebody who likes, and Apple does this too, by the way, Apple really always loses in my mind display-wise to the Samsung devices because of that. But that's subjective. That's something, if you like more natural colors on your devices, if you need, when you're looking at pictures, if you're for a professional, color accuracy is important to you, then the Pixel might be the device for you because of that. The Samsung S22 Ultra still gets brighter. The Pixel 7 Pro has done a much better job at that. This is at 80%. They're both at about 80% brightness, and it's close. Closer than it has been in the past. There were times where if you had a 7, or a Google Pixel rather, at 80% brightness, it was almost tough to see it. I would always have to turn up the brightness on my Pixel devices, and it's gotten a little bit closer. I like this S22 Ultra display better, but $300 more, right? It's supposed to be better. It's supposed to be more refined when you're talking about that price. The second thing is performance, and I'm going to wrap in the different versions of the OS in this performance argument here. This is running One UI 5. I don't know if it's still the beta. I think the full version of One UI 5 comes out either today or tomorrow. This is running Android 13, of course, the 7 Pro on release. The One UI has done a good job with Android 13 of being smooth. I tend to like it a bit better than I do the Pixel experience with Android 13, but that's personal preferences again. People like the way that they do the menus on One UI 5 as opposed to the Material You experience on Android 13. A lot of people think this looks like a toy or whatever it happens to be, but if you like the bigger buttons, if you like the menus the way they have them set up here, I personally like the fact that I get the toggles for Wi-Fi and stuff right here in the main pull down, but some people might prefer Material You. So this is something that's going to be a personal preference, but you can see the difference there, and I happen to like the One UI experience a little bit better than the Pixel experience. But there's intangibles on the Pixel side that kind of even that out. You get Now Playing over here, the live translate, the calling stuff that is phenomenal on the Pixel side. And that's the value-added stuff that we're talking about. That stuff, if you've ever sat on those automated calls, the ability for the Pixel to go ahead and show you the different options as opposed to having to sit there and listen through them and just picking the one you want. If that's something that you use a lot, if you use those Pixel extras a lot, then that's value for you. It makes sense for you to get this device, especially when we're talking about it at a lower price. And I'm talking about, I don't want to compare these at the prices they are now, because 6 months from now, the Pixel 7 Pro might be significantly cheaper, and you're talking about that gap again between these two devices. So I want the people to know that there is intended gap here. This is a $1,200 device. This is a $900 device base. So you have to keep that in mind when you say, well, okay, it seems like the S22 Ultra beats the 7 Pro objectively in a lot of areas, and that might be true, but it's supposed to, right? If it didn't, at $1,200, that would be a problem. But understand that this year, the fact that the 7 Pro is even in the conversation, even in the running, that's almost a win for Google. A year ago, if you had told me, does Pixel have a coherent vision for what they want to do with their phones, I wouldn't have said no, because the Pixel 6 Pro was one of their best efforts in years, despite the issues that they'd had with software. I would have said maybe. Now, I kind of get it. I get it. They fleshed out the vision. I understand what they're trying to do. They're not trying to compete directly with the S22 Ultra. They're trying to give you enough performance, enough battery life, enough of these features, hoping the value-added stuff that Pixel provides pushes it over the top for you. Then you add in the camera, you add in the design, which people might like a little bit better. And they're saying if we could get close enough and be cheaper than the competition, we've got something here. And I like that they've settled into that. I like that they've stopped this thing where there was those years where they charged the same amount of money but gave you less stuff. And it was always coming up short, and it was always kind of wonky and always kind of weird. I like that they've kind of discovered who they are and what they want to do. And this is the result of that. And it is a lot closer than it has been in the past. Camera, I'm going to put these two shots up. There's two different pictures taken at the same time, same lighting, same angle, and you can see the difference here. The Pixel 7 Pro gives you a more natural image. For a lot of people, that's going to be important, okay? The Samsung S22 Ultra, in my mind, gives you that punchier image, that vivid image. That's a personal preference. Do you like the natural image? Do you like the natural color processing better? Or do you like your photos to be punched up a little bit? That's the difference there. Because on camera system, now there was that lag issue with the S22 Ultra, but I can tell you, using Android 13, the camera app is significantly better than it had been in the past. It's a lot closer now than it was. There's not lag that you're going to take. That shutter lag that was debilitating in some issues on the Samsung devices has been roughly solved when you're talking about Android 13. We're going to put it on here for One UI. It's a lot better. You see that? This is the S22 Ultra. When could you take pictures like that and confidently take snaps and know that you were going to get the image that you wanted? Now, the camera app overall, I prefer the Pixel camera app. It's nice. I love the auto leveling. I like the fact that it's just nice, clean images. I do believe it gives you a little bit more control over what you're doing. I like the way they present it better. It's cleaner for the amateur photographer when you're talking about the Pixel, but that should be. That's their bread and butter. You're talking about the camera. You'd want that experience to be a little bit better on Pixel. Build quality, design, personal preference, both premium devices, both nice devices overall. I happen to like the little camera array here on the S22 Ultra, but the 7 Pro this year is nice. It's premium. The metal frame, I like how they've kind of streamlined the way they do the camera hump this year. I think a lot of improvements on the 7 Pro this year, so that's going to be personal preference. The support is going to be about the same now. Samsung has really upped support, but it's whether you're going to get that Pixel experience for X amount of years or the Samsung One UI experience for X amount of years. Customization is something That's a big difference between these two. You can see it on the always on display. As we turn this off here. This is what you get on Pixel with always on display. It has been this way for years. Samsung, you get the colors, you get the customization. You see the picture of Gene here. When you go back in, what are you missing here on this display? Do you notice anything here? What do you not see on my home screen that you're going to see on every single Pixel home screen that you've ever seen? Where's the search bar? Can't remove it. Very strange, the limitations on customization that you get on Pixel with Android 13 and the Pixel experience. I never understood that. I never understood how the home, this should be the beacon of Android, and the way you're supposed to customize these things, that they don't give you that full customization. Always been a bit strange to me, and you get that on the Samsung experience with One UI 5.0. There's a lot of stuff that comes down to personal preference. The speed and performance on these devices, especially given what we use them for, is going to be pretty similar. Both smooth 120 hertz displays. Battery life is a slight nod to the Pixel 7 Pro right now. Not a huge nod, a slight nod to the Pixel 7 Pro. Okay, talking about a half hour more. I'm getting just over 6 hours of screen on time with this device, where I struggle to get 5.5, even though it's getting better with One UI 5, but I've struggled to get 5.5 on my S22 Ultra, so that's something to consider as well. But I think for a phone that was designed at $300 less than this, it's close enough. It's close enough where if you like Pixel, if you like that Pixel experience, if you're somebody who just loves those extras and you're all about that camera, you don't have to feel bad about your decision this year. Not that you would anyway, but you don't have to feel like you're completely getting gypped by getting this device this year as opposed to the S22 Ultra, where in previous years I couldn't exactly say that. And that's a big difference. And that's in a way, like I said, in a way it's a win for Google. I'd still choose the S22 Ultra, but it's closer than it has been in the past. And when you take into account the price difference, there's certainly something to be said for that. If you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Until next time, have that Steve-licious day.